Hi guys, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be discussing about the stages of production that a firm goes through when it's hiring more variable factors onto fixed factors, right? And so we know that as the firm hires more and more variable factors onto fixed factors, so time will come when they start becoming a constraint for those fixed factors, and then that's the point where your diminishing return kicks in, and then the marginal product would start falling. And we also studied in the previous videos about the relationship between the marginal and the average product, that the shape of the average product curve is derived from the marginal product curve, as in the case that the marginal product is sort of increasing or decreasing the average product, and then it sort of cuts the average product curve on its highest point, right? We've already studied those relationships, but the thing about stages of production is that as we keep on hiring more variable factors onto fixed factors. So, and in our example for this video, we're saying that labor is a variable factor, right? So the stages of production is just telling us how marginal product and average product is behaving. So a firm's entire scale or production scale is divided into three stages here, and each stage is representing how marginal product and average product behaves as more units of labor is hired. And why are we studying these stages of production is because we need to sort of see that where is ideally the point where in what stage should a firm be producing at, or maybe is the firm really underutilizing its fixed factors, or is it overutilizing its fixed factors, and what is the ideal area, or what is the ideal you can say the ideal scale between, or what is the ideal range in which a firm should actually be producing at, or the ideal range between which a firm should be employing the workers, right? So basically, stage one is going to end where your average product is at its maximum, right? So this is the point where your average product is maximum, so stage one ends, and then it starts after that point. And stage two is starting from the point where average product is maximum up till the point. So stage two is where average product is maximum up till the point where the marginal product gets zero, right? So that's the entire region. In this region, how many, if the firm is producing in this region and it's hiring labor um, to produce more output in this region, then the firm is in stage. We say that the firm is in stage two, while stage three is when is kicks in immediately after the point when your marginal product becomes zero, and any further hiring of variable factors would sort of turn the marginal product into negative, right? So, and these stages are definitely giving us useful insights into what should be the ideal stage a firm should produce into, how many workers should it actually hire. That's what we're interested to know in, whether it should hire more workers, whether we should remain in stage one, whether we should hire more workers and enter stage two, or whether we should maybe be in stage three. So let's see how this sort of works. So if you see, guys, what I've done here is, so for example, if the firm decides that it will be in stage one, so stage one is a point where it's hiring, let's say, L1 number of workers. So because we are on the x-axis, I'm measuring the units of input, that is labor, and on the y-axis we're measuring the margin and the average product. So let's say L1 number of workers, it says we're going to be hiring, because let's say it sort of feels that by hiring L1 number of workers, our marginal product is, let's say, somewhat maximum, right? So this is just an assumption that, I mean, it could hire any number of workers in stage one, but let's say we're saying that it hires L1 number of workers, because at that point your marginal product is for labor is maximum, right? So you see, the thing is that although it hires L1 number of workers, and L1 number of workers, let's say these are maybe 4 workers, right? So although these 4 workers would be employed to work on those fixed factors, maybe to work on those fixed machinery and land, but what we are saying is that right now the firm is underutilizing it's underutilizing its fixed factors. It could sort of employ more workers, and that would be beneficial for the firm. And the reason being is that although by hiring these, this is L1, by the way, but by hiring these 4 workers, or let's say L1 workers, by hiring these L1 workers, your marginal product is maximum, and then if you hire five, six more, 5 workers or 6 workers or 7 workers, you could say that although my marginal product, so you could say that marginal product is falling, but then it's not a beneficial thing to hire those 5, 6, 7 workers because your marginal product is falling and diminishing returns has kicked in at this point, right? But then again, economic theory teaches us that although yes, diminishing returns has kicked in at this point and marginal product is actually falling, but then still the marginal product is more than the average product and your average product is rising. And if you see what average product is basically output per worker. It's telling us the labor productivity per unit of worker employed. And then it's telling us that on an average how many on an average what is the output that each worker is producing, right? So it's definitely giving us insights into labor productivity and labor efficiency. So 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 as long as your average product is rising, guys, as long as your average product is rising, the firm should keep on employing more workers because, I mean, although yes, your marginal is falling, your marginal product is falling, and you could say that diminishing returns has kicked in, and maybe diminishing returns are becoming, and maybe those variable factors or that labor is becoming, has started becoming a constraint for those fixed factors for that fixed land and capital. But then again, they haven't really become a constraint to an extent or to a really massive extent that it pulls the average down as well, right? Because so so since it's not bringing the average down, in fact your average is increasing, so why not hire more workers then? Hire more workers, produce more output. So that's exactly what I've written over here as well, that at L1, so let's say if the firm stop hiring the labor at L1, right? So maybe they think that MP is highest, so let's stop hiring and then not hire any more workers, because after L1 they think that diminishing return is kicked in and MP is falling. So what we're saying is that this is not a good decision, and the reason being is it's not a good decision because your MP is falling, but the average product is still rising, and because the average product is rising, it's not a good decision. And the thing is that a rise in average product is basically a sign that your per unit labor productivity, that your labor productivity is actually going up, right? Your labor productivity is going up because your average product is rising. So because your per unit labor productivity is rising, it means that fixed factor is being efficiently utilized. So so beyond L1, let's say this is L1, right? I mean, beyond L1, your average product is still rising. So which means that you have more scope to utilize, or you have more vacuum to utilize your fixed factors to a much better, more efficient way, because at L1 you're definitely underutilizing your resource. I mean your fixed factors. So it gives businesses insights that, okay, fine, you know what, should we hire more workers? And the business would be like, okay, fine, diminishing returns has kicked in. So it's not like if diminishing returns has kicked in, you should stop hiring. Since average product is rising, so business should not have the business should still be hiring more workers because the average product is going up. Because you see, the reason why average product is going up is because each additional worker's contribution to total product, that is the margin product, because margin product is the contribution to the total product, right? That is the marginal contribution. So each additional worker's marginal contribution is basically more than the average, right? So the sixth worker or the seventh worker is basically definitely adding more than the average of the 5 workers. So whatever the average of the 5 workers is, the sixth worker's margin, the sixth worker's contribution to total output is definitely more than the average of the 5 workers, and it's actually pulling the average up. And the marginal product for the seventh worker, which is the contribution by hiring the seventh worker to the total product, that is because of his hiring, whatever the contribution to the total product is, although it's sort of less than the previous sixth worker because the marginal product is falling beyond diminishing returns, but still it's more than the average of the 6 workers. And if that is so, and that's actually still pulling the average up. So if it's pulling the average up, if your average product is going up, right, it's actually going up. So although the marginal is falling, but the average product is rising, right? So it's the reason why this is happening is the reason why the seventh worker or the sixth worker's marginal product is more than the average of the 5 workers, or the or the marginal product because of hiring the seventh worker is more than the average of the six workers is because each additional worker hired, you know, the, the moment you hire the sixth worker or the moment you hire the seventh worker, the fixed factor is utilized well because, you know, there's still, although diminishing returns is set in, but still there is a bit of, you know, a bit of vacuum, or there is a bit of space for a more better utilization, or a, you know, a better utilization of your fixed factors. And that's actually pulling the average product upward, because you can say that labor productivity is rising, right? So and your stage one would end when your average product would be the highest, because that's the point where, you know, your marginal has contributed enough, you know, to sort of bring the average up to an extent that it's the maximum over here, right? And that's where your stage one ends. And then your stage two starts. And stage three basically starts the point where the marginal product becomes zero. And beyond that, if you keep on hiring more workers, your marginal product is actually negative. That's pulling the total product down, and your average is falling, right? But although even in stage two, we see even in stage two, average has started falling a bit because your marginal is less than your average. So when your marginal is less than the average, your average starts falling, right? But the situation sort of gets, because here the average is falling but slightly, but then the situation just gets worse when your marginal product becomes sort of negative. It's drastically pulls your average down, right? That's stage three. So you see, in stage three, what's happening is, which is starting after your marginal product is becoming zero. So technically, what's happening is that each worker is negatively contributing total product, which is bringing the total product down, and because your MP is negative, right? And this means, and the reason why marginal product is negative, the marginal product being negative means that each additional worker is negatively contributing to total output, to total product, right? The reason is that now the firm is overutilizing the fixed factors, right? They are overutilizing it, right? And that is why the marginal product is negative, is now become because the fixed factors are being overutilized, right? It's sort of a burden. The variable factors are becoming a burden on the fixed factors. Although that burden started to feed through or seep through the moment your diminishing returns kicked in, but then again there was still some space for more variable factors to be hired on those fixed factors. We could sort of fit. It's just like, imagine that, you know, although the class sort of a class has a lot of students, but then it seems like a lot of students, but we still have some more space to fit in a few more students, right? Yeah. So that could be an intuitive explanation for that. So, and then what happens is that so in stage three, we know that in stage three the firm is overutilizing its fixed factors. In stage one, it's underutilizing its fixed factors. So what do we conclude because of that? So neither the firm would want to overutilize its fixed factors, neither it would want to underutilize its fixed factors, because underutilization of fixed factor is not a rational decision of a rational producer, right? And neither is overutilization. So because the firm will not want to be in stage three, neither it would want to be in stage one, then the only stage the firm would want to be in is stage two. That a firm would want to operate in stage two. So basically, you see this diagram. Although we had studied this diagram in the previous videos, but this now we are seeing that how could sort of firms make useful insights, or how could firm derive various conclusions, and how should it figure out in what stage it should be in, right? Or what's the optimum sort of size for the firm. So any point, so usually the optimum size for a firm would be somewhere or at any point within the stage two, right? It could be anywhere between stage two. It will actually depend upon the cost curves as well, what the optimum outputs is and what the optimum employment of workers is would obviously depend upon considering the cost curves into consideration, right? But it will be anywhere, somewhere, anywhere, somewhere in stage two. So what we're saying is that what we conclude is that if the firm stop hiring workers at L1, so if the firm stops hiring workers at L1, right, what's happening is, and we know that the average product is rising, right? So it would mean that, you know, there is still potential for our fixed factors to be utilized more efficiently. Although we know that diminishing return has kicked in, You see, diminishing returns has kicked in, MP is going down, but still AP is going up, right? So we know that there's still potential for our fixed factors to be utilized more efficiently, but we're not utilizing it. If we stop at L1, we're not utilizing it because we're not hiring any more workers beyond L1. If we assuming that we stop at L1, so our fixed factors in that case would remain underutilized if AP is rising for labor, because if AP is rising, it means that labor productivity is rising, right? Okay. So that would mean that a firm would want to be in stage 2. And guys, stage 2, that it would always want to be in stage. And stage 2 is also known as the economic region. The economic region is the region where the firms would want to be in, right? And remember that business decision makers would want, I mean, business decision makers, they sort of see themselves in that region, in the sense that, all the established firms want to operate in that region. Although we know that the marginal product of labor and the average product of labor is declining in stage 2 as well. In stage 2, the marginal product is declining, right? And the average product is declining as well. But then the decline is not that steep for the average product as well. I mean, it has just started declining from being over here, it was the highest, and then it started declining. And then here we know that it's definitely declining, just constantly declining. So the marginal product and the average product of labor are declining, and they are declining, and we also know that there's diminishing returns. But still, the thing is that marginal product is still positive. You see, in stage 2, the marginal product is also declining, but it's still positive. It's not that the marginal product is negative, right? In stage 2, although yes, the marginal product is declining, but it's still negative. Although the marginal product is declining, but it's still positive. That's what we are seeing, right? So the thing is that so what we conclude is that the firm would want to be in stage 2, and so where in stage 2 exactly, that would depend upon after considering the cost curves into account. But technically, what you should, from an A2 perspective, what you should at least know is that how could these cost curves be used to derive useful insights for a business firm. So based on what we just studied, remember that the firm would always want to operate in stage 2. In stage 1, it would be underutilizing its fixed factors. In stage 3, it would be overutilizing its fixed factors. So that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you all around in the next video. Till then, take care.